Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very exciting evening after the great first round that we had earlier in the week, or say last week. We are here at Circuit of the Americas for round 2 of Season 12. My name's Ben Sashford, it's good to be back, and what we have got to look forward to is a 30-car plus grid of intense racing action. 3 classes of drivers, a 30-minute qualifying about to get underway now as we are on board with Wayne Bowler, first of the bronze class cars, about to make their way to the line. If you are new here, welcome. Hopefully you enjoy the show. If you do, consider hitting that subscribe button if you want to keep on board with the rest of the season. Like the stream if you see anything you do enjoy, and be sure to keep on top of everything by having a look over at our Facebook group. And if you want to get involved yourself, we also have the Discord. But enough of that now, as we have the first laps about to begin. Bowler about to cross the line, got a bit of work to do, but as he currently stands in P3 with 34 points to his name, he's going to be the first that we stick on board with to jump into qualifying. And right out the gate, it's a very strong first corner, then ride a little bit of that undulation, a little bit of that camber, yet moving through the twistier section of the course as he turns 3 through 7 and all the way down to turn 9 as we're heading here with the Ferrari. Can get a little bit wiggly, can get a little bit unsettled if you haven't got that aero set up right to keep that rear planted. You get yourself in some serious trouble, but Ferrari handles it nicely. Making his way down to turn 11. And he gets right up to the apex, all the way down to first gear before piling on the power as he goes down the back straight. It's the longest straight of the circuit before he's going to have to quickly get on that stop pedal. He's jumping on boards. He's really pushing that car now. Say all the way up into 6th gear. Braking just before, say, the sponsor boards. All the way down into first again, but keeping the car rolling, using that momentum to best effect. Keeping himself mighty composed, and now the twisty sector 3 starts his way all around through turn 15, and it's the triple right-hander now. You can see some of his opponents just in the back line. There is one of the Astons, I believe that is Rich Arscombe, just in the background. Got the number 42 of Mike Foxall just out of shot. But first time on the board here for SIMSeniors here at COTA this season. What's it going to be for the 123 Ferrari? 207.6. Mighty impressive opener and a good shot at the pole position here for bronze. But what's the rest of the field going to have to say about it? Only legal time on the board, rest invalidated, and in the 208s. Peter Smith comes across with a 208.5. How will David do at the same breath as the 199 McLaren comes to the line? It's a 210 only. Alex North is going to be making his way in that Porsche, and he's currently in the defensive spots as he's leading the bronze championship. He's found his footing in the 992 spec Porsche, and a 209.7 is the best he can muster. A little bit more work to do here. Looks like Niesbeck coming up to the line. Looks like we're having a couple of hiccups with some of the liveries. We'll try and get that repaired in between quali and the race, of course. As currently Ramon Lorenzo and, as I can see here, Craig Niesbeck have not got their liveries fully loaded. The Niesbeck is going to be down to the 209s, but a couple more cars coming up to the line here in just a moment. John Gabbett going to be starting a second lap as he's just pushed through with a 208.2. Nicely executed there from the BMW pilot. Now let's see the second bite of the cherry as there is Arscombe on his way through. Peeling his way out of Sector 2 and into Sector 3 now through the twistier parts of the race course. He's taking a bit of a wider line out through 14. as he comes out into 15. Very nicely done here. Triple apex right-hander. Hang as much speed as you can. You can kind of push it through 4th gear if you know how to balance the throttle and your mechanical grip. Luckily, it's a beautiful day here at Texas. We're in Austin, Texas. 28 degrees track surface temps means those rubbers are going to be nice and tacky. Plenty of grip at your disposal. 208.3 is about to get pushed into the timing board. Arscombe in P4 as Mike Foxall in the Lamborghini is going to take new pole by over 0.2 of a second. 207.4 flat. Well executed. Last couple of cars here to set a time on the board for the bronze class, namely Stuart Holmes, Roger Dismukes and Craig Niesbet. Everyone else has set a time at this point, and we're looking at a range of 2:07 to 2:10, but time is running out. 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and then we will see the silver class cars come out to play, and the bronze cars have to finish their lap and retire out of the session. Time is of the essence. And for those who are interested in joining, of course, the Facebook group followed by the Discord is the way to do it, and then you'll be able to get all the information that you seek. The 3 drivers remain, and let's see if anyone is going to be pushing a little bit further. Smith is going to be trying to get out of the 210s. That's the main thing here. Got a lot of push and a lot of work to do. Smith's pushing hard. He's got about half a second, but he's hemorrhaging time down out of turn 11, so maybe not the best exit here. Crucially here, consistency is key. You've got a lot of different types of corners here at COTA. You're going to have some very aggressive braking zones, and that's going to be mixed in with some of the sweepers as we see in Sector 1 and coming into Sector 2 of the circuit. So that whole T3 up to T9 complex, that is a real test of your aero balance and how much you are loading up your surfaces in order to really push those tyres into the road. Making his way through turn 19 now. That is going to be Smith. Probably his last chance here fully, as he's about a second up, but has he overcooked it into the final corner? Looks like he's got it down, and he's going to have himself up into P8. Solid improvement here, but what say North? Championship defender here currently. Highest points out of the first round, say best results, and he's going to jump and immediately leapfrog Smith, but the best he's going to get is a P8. More cars making their way to the line. Here is John Gabbett. Got to say, rocking a very nice colour scheme on that BMW. But making his way through here, and we can see quite a few of the bronze cars heading into the pits, opting not to take the chance on their laps here. Gabbett got something to show for us as the silvers are about to make their way out. In fact, you can just see in the background, there they are, all of the silver racers making their way out as Gabbett gets himself a 207.7. Bowler going to be our last bastion here for the bronze times, as Foxall looks like he got a one and done. He got it in the back. That is it. Going to be pushing a little bit more here. He was teetering on the purple going through Sector 1 and some of Sector 2, but he lost a fair chunk of time. So the question is, will he be able to hold it? All of the other bronze cars short of North are already in the pit lane. So this is kind of do or don't here. This is the final parting shot he can take. Looks like he's going a little bit down. He's not quite held his pace. Will he be able to get any kind of improvement? Looks like he might. Getting into the final corner, looks like he's suddenly jumped up in time that he's gained here. And it's going to be, it is 207.2 coming out from the Ferrari. That is a new fastest from bronze. That is Wayne Bowler sweeping it away from the Lamborghini in the last moments. Can North return any fire here before the silvers fully dominate the track? Dismukes goes through it with a 209.8 before retiring to the pit lane. And lowest of the night, Ramon Lorenzo, E12 in his Porsche. Last chance here for the bronze. Any chance of position change here for Alex North? He comes up to the line. It's looking good here. He's going to get a few positions as he gets a 208.1 and he pushes himself up to the proverbial third row. Nicely executed here. But now it's time to see who has got it in the silver docket. As we're on board with Hamby to get this show on the road. Huracan GT3 just ahead of him. Looks like that is going to be none other than Linatus. Linatus making his way into silver for this season of the competition. Both of them going to be sweeping their way into turn 1. Careful not to get too close. Too good of a run here could put you at risk of dirty air from the competitor ahead. So there will be a little bit of trepidation about these initial laps. Also see a little bit of slip from the rear tyres coming out of that Huracan. Gets it rotated as they got that central centre of mass. Very good in terms of rotation, but can sometimes kick the rears if you're not careful, especially if you're trying to push the throttle. Diffs get a bit unhappy. His way down to turn 11. Now you can see the Nismo just sweeping through. The Lamborghini gets a little bit of a wider line here. Doesn't go as aggressive through the apex and through the curbs. All about conserving your speed, keeping things nice and smooth. Wind might be working against him here too. 3 km/h crosswinds. Slight aero sensitivity. Could upset the balance just a bit. Very striking colour combination here from the Lambo as well as the light blue contrast against the pink and the black base. Beautiful lines from a lot of the grid here. This one especially catches your eye. Just with those hot pink elements, it really does almost grab you, pull your eye toward. Loud, and it's not afraid to be. Beautiful running here so far from the Silvers. Looking nice and clean. A little bit of a tighter line here from the Lambo. You can see just ahead of him there is going to be Linatus, and also behind looks like that is going to be the, if I can find his actual driver number, the number 6 of Robert Homer. Where are they all going to be landing here? Linatus just up ahead. Is there going to be a new top set? 207.8 from Linatus, but it's invalid as Hamby gets a 207.4 and Homer gets a 207.21, or a 122 is now the new record. 6.3. I can't even keep up with the timing board. That's how quickly it's changing. Peyton is going to be the fastest time of the initial round in his McLaren 720S. Immediately dethrones the likes of Homer, Julius, Serrano, all coming through in hot procession. Beautiful running here from all of the silver so far. Last silver on the board, and at least the last one of this set of runners. It's going to be Ostrashaz, but he only manages a 208.3. Few drivers looking for second chances here, but they've still got 5 minutes. They've still got at least 2 more laps in it here. Question is, who's going to be improving further? Looks like Peyton might be one to watch as he catches up to the back of that purple Beamer. That's going to be Serrano right now. Best Sector 1 of the field, whereas Peyton got best Sector 2 and 3. Question is, with the proximity between these two, will there be any slipstream amongst the racers? Intentional or not? And simultaneously, will there be dirty air? Here goes nothing. His way down into turn 12, heavy on those brakes, careful of the raised curb in the middle of turn 12, right at the apex, preventing those cuts, those more aggressive cuts there. Be getting quite close, a little bit too close for comfort, and in fact he's really starting to bleed time throughout this entire sector just because the BMW is right in his way. He gets out of the way, but it might be too little too late as he's broken even. He's no longer going purple. He could have had a 206.1 or even a 206 flat on the cards, but looks like he's managed to peel back a bit more time as he's got his car well into its operating window. Number 206.3 to beat for James Peyton. What's he going to shave out of this one? Very nice final corner out to turn 20. And it's a 206.240, new fastest time of the field thus far. Will there be any challenges from the opposition? There goes a Pedro Serrano, who was gaining time but had to, of course, as you saw, break out. And then Sean Julius, who has made his way into P2 in his most carboned out Mustang here. A lot of racers have invalidated during their runs. For example, Ostrishaz, Visuri, they're both not going to get a new time on the docket just yet. They have got a couple more chances. It's good to see all the friendly faces in chat. Really nice to have everyone here. Always a pleasure to be here on the Tuesday nights. Almost a fun little, like a fun little social gathering with a nice hint inside of. Okay, so the best ACC racing you're going to get this side of the YouTubes. Well, let's see how the rest of the field are doing. I'm really rooting for the likes of Visuri, Eid, Ostrishaz, and to an extent some of the mid runners in the silver class, just because I don't feel like they've really got that chance to shine. Though the gap looks much further than it may initially seem, these drivers, I feel, have still got a lot to give. Hopefully they get that chance to show their potential. Now, we are officially getting to the point where if you are not on the track, you're only going to have really one more attempt, if that. 1 minute 50 to go, and then the lap is going to have to be completed before returning to the pits. Then the gold class cars will come out to play, and the gold class side is looking somewhat thin tonight. I'm going to be honest, 10 drivers only. They are the, I think, smallest proportion of the field currently presiding over this racetrack. We have 12 bronzes, and I do believe, say correct me if my math is wrong, 12 silvers. So that is a bit of a question mark on this one. Fortunately, no time gained for Hamby. And Linatus, much of the same fate. So let's check in on Ostrishaz. You saw him at the edge of the field, at the edge of the cohort last time out, at the start of their little 10-minute stint. And with 1 minute to go, does he have a chance to show us lightning in a bottle? Goes through the final corner. Looking good in terms of lines. A little bit of skate on the rear axles. You saw there, trying to push on the power. And he does get an improvement, quite a sizable one, to a 207.8. Very well executed qualifying lap there from the Beamer. Fellow Beamer Alex Wildner making his way through the twistier section of Kota here and coming out into Sector 2, potentially flashing purple. As you can see, one of the other cars turning to the pit lane, Toot Sweet. And I think that was Sean Julius. So getting himself out of the way nice and quick. He knows that he's not going to get a good run on this one. He's not going to have enough time to get out, though he's cutting his losses early. Same with Homer in the number 6, who just returned likewise. So Wildner could have a chance to really rock the boat here. All he needs is 2/10, and he's on the front row. Julius has capped out at a .670, and Derek Hall with a 206.725 is going to be that opportunity for Wildner to really push here. But you can see on the track map right there, the gold class cars have come out to play. It's time to see what they can do, what they can show us, but not out of sight, but certainly out of pace range. 206.2 to beat here for James Payton, and looks like he's going purple. He might have even more to push on here. Might have even more to give. So final runs now for any silver drivers, as many have returned to the pits. Payton with a very nice last corner pushes that envelope to a 206.0, a 027. Immaculate execution on his final lap there to really firm the P1 spot for silver. Nicely done. Is there going to be any last chances and improvements from the others? That is the question here. Ostrishaz might be the last one to do it. And we have seen all the rest of the field, with the exception of Eid, who's now just jumped in and into the pits. There you go, with no improvement for Ostrishaz. The turn is now on the side of the golds. And here we are. Loris O'Wiggle leads the charge for gold class here. As we can see, another Pixel Pilots driver. That is going to be Matthias Lang. And the two of them are going to be up at the front. Smoothly does it as the time is of the essence. 8 minutes on the clock. And it's time for the final set of qualifiers. The gold class, the creme de la creme. 2 minutes and 6 seconds to beat. Could we see 205s? Could we see 204s? Who knows? We might in just a few minutes' time. Here's Loris starting his lap. See, really squeezing to the edge of the circuit. Watch how much of the track this Nismo GTR uses. One thing to keep an eye on is just how much he's willing to get across those curves to really maximize the room available on this race course. There's plenty of track to go around if you're in qualifying. You've got the space to really push your racing lines. And Wiggle's just doing just that. Here is the 317 making a very nice execution. Coming out turn 9, big push as he crests over that small bump and down the hill into turn 11. Again, gets far wide out as he can and really open up the throttle as soon as possible to get full power down onto that back straight. Gone through everything from aero to gear ratios to diffs to springs. It's all finely tuned in service of extracting the most out of this GT3 platform. The over 260 kilometers an hour before diving onto the brakes and now at turn 12. So far, so good. A couple of invalidations from Marsh, Leenblom, Verhart, and Holmes. And to say the 11-strong grid of gold class drivers has got a lot to show tonight, it looks like. So Loris O'Wiggle, final initial benchmark of this session here before, of course, we'll head into the full fat race. 60-minute romp through Circuit of the Americas. Loris barely keeping him within track limits as he tees up for turn 19 and now turn 20. Even using a little bit of that sort of resistance from the engine and gearbox as they ships right down and straight to the top. 205.6 from O'Wiggle and a 205.7 for Lang. Beautiful execution here as the rest of gold makes their way through in quick time. Victor Verfart into the top spots as well with a 206.4, so leapfrogging right through as McNair gets an effective P4, now P5, as we've just had Dave Marsh with a 205.582, an immaculate execution here. Let's see what the rest of the field has in store for us. Liam Blom, we'll check in with him. Of course, he is one of the main contenders of this season. A P4 after penalties has not put him in the best shape heading into round 2 here, but he's certainly got a lot of fight, and he's going to really show that with a 204.9. He's going to break that gap immediately and just prove himself to be one of the main protagonists, why he has been such a defining force of the SIMSeniors Gold roster since the seasons past. Ulslener getting a 205.4, and Grosges just behind him getting a 205.542. Wolfpack drivers have got their mark stamped. Some of the podium spots, but Imblom still puts up a fight. Time is of the essence. 4 minutes and 10 seconds to go. And you're going to have about 3 more lap attempts in it. Curiously, we have got Chris Bourne right at the bottom of the order, but he's about to come up to turn 11 and start to push a little bit harder. You can see he did have a invalidated 206.6, but not quite. out to the line. We can see Lang getting a mild improvement. He's just able to leapfrog Loris at the front end of things. But Lindblom, not content, going to try and push things even further. Track's gotten slightly colder since the start of the session. It's dropped a degree or two. Looks like he's going to be really throwing down the gauntlet compared to race 1. P4, that could never do. He's currently tied with Johan Larsson in the Lexus. But we're suspiciously seeing a lack of the great hammer himself, Frederick Geermar. See, another 10th being lopped off of the fastest time here, despite a yellow sector 3 for Lindblom. So a 0.7 or even a 0.6 might be in it if he can string this together perfectly, although not to be outdone. Here comes Wolfslener up to the line. He briefly flashes purple, but is it enough? Not quite. It's a 204.9 for the Ferrari pilot, and the rest of the field follows suit. There's going to be a big jump here for Grosges, is a 205.202, and last chances for some of the others in the field to get valid times here, as it looks like Chris Bourne had another invalidation, so is the only gold driver to not have a full set. 2 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock means he's effectively only got 2 more attempts. He really is going to be running out of time before long. And I personally would be a little bit nervous in his situation. Here we go, Lindblom we stick on board with a little bit longer. Been an eye out for where he's going to land. Still flashing purple. He's still got more to give. That is insane, but I don't think he's going to have the easy ride that one may read this as in Geermar's absence. I think Grosges Wolfslener still have a good chance to really put the fight to him, as we've seen those drivers in the past be able to bring just as much flavour and spice to a race in this level of company as any other driver. We see just a quarter of a 10th shaved off for Lindblom's effectively final attempt. What are we going to see from Wolfslener and Grosges as they are soon to come to the line? Grosges is flashing purple. This could be some magic coming from the Ferrari. Slight downgrade in time for Wolfslener. Can his teammate fly the flag? Goes to the line. Yes, he does. 0.740. Grosges has shown his hand, and not a moment too soon. Beautiful stuff there, and a new pole position coming out of that team and coming out of the Ferrari. Orzo Eagle, first to start qualifying for the golds, and will be the first to cross the line after the checkered flag falls. Let's see how he does as he makes his way through and out of turn 15 here. A little bit narrow on the apex there. He's going to shave a couple of crucial tenths in terms of time. He's actually not going to be getting that best exit there, so he's not quite getting the gains he'd hoped for. He still has a chance here to leap Dave Marsh in the timing order, get himself on the second row, but he has to nail this third sector. He gets very wide, almost too close to an invalidation there, but well executed final corner, pushes to the line. Is it enough to overtake Marsh? It is, by half a tenth of a second. Dave Marsh is going to be pushed down into P5. There's an improvement here from Lang, but it's not enough to gain a position, as with McNair. 205.8 and 205.3 respectively. Last chances with some of the others as well. Chris Bourne, having finally got a time on the board, has got a respectable one at a 205.842. Despite it being towards the lower end of the gold table, it's still enough to put him ahead of the others in the field. A fully pushed lap Is it going to land him? That's the question here. 205.8 is going to get anything above a 0.3. He could leapfrog all the way to the second row. Is it going to be enough here? It's going to be enough for a P7. So not quite there, but still a respectable improvement for Bourne. Nicely done in terms of times. And then last cars up as Grosges peels into the pit lane and holds that badge of honor as the top reigning time for this session. 204.740 for Grosges, and it's going to put him ahead of Liam Bond by just half a tenth of a second. Of course, being one of the drivers penned to take this round by storm, in absence of one of his main rivals. And then it's Wolfslander in P3 with a 0.955, and we'll see just how much these racers battle it out in race trim. Looking over to silver, it's going to be James Payton in first place. What is my words today? 2:06.027, and that is going to be a whole half second clear of Sean Julius in P2 and Derek Hall in P3 with a 0.670 and a 0.725 respectively. Finally, looking at the bronze class, and it's Wayne Bowler who takes the pride and takes the checkered flag for bronze here with a 207.295, and he's celebrating by warping to the quantum realm. Mike Foxall, initially believed to be the standout pole holder for the bronze category, was overtaken at the last second by Bowler, but is still a very respectable 207.4. And finally, looking at your last podium spots per class, it's Craig Niesbet in his admittedly plain navy blue, although that might not be his fault. That might be on our end. Apologies if so. 0.620, 207.6. And we'll see, of course, the rest of the field when we take our full grid walk, ladies and gentlemen. So that's where we are going to soon be going trackside for the race in full, and where the field is going to be showing their full pace. 60-minute race. Mandatory pit stop for fuel, but tyres are optional. And most importantly, the drivers are going to have to manage and strategize around the rest of the field, who are trying to get 2 even stints as close to 30 minutes as possible. Let's see what they can show us, though, as we are about to jump with the fields. Let's take a full walk through. Let's see what they have in store. First off on the field, it's Grosges with a beautiful opening time, 204.740, closely followed by Liam Blom in the Pixel Pilots NSX in P2. Second row is going to be adorned by the Wolfpack Ferrari, the number 196, that's Peter Wolfslander, with Loris O'Wiggle, another Pixel Pilots car, number 317 Nismo. Row 3, that's going to be Dave Marsh, his number 27 NSX, knows how to keep things sweet on track. Let's see how his rivals fare as Lang lines up alongside him. Third Pixel Pilots entry, it's the 776 Nismo. Row 4, it's going to be Chris Bourne in the 118 Ferrari, also a Wolfpack pilot, alongside McNair's classic Iron Brew number 13 Nismo here. Closing out your top 10 is Victor Verfa in the Pixel Pilots Aston Martin, the number 707, lines up against fellow British car. It's the 720S piloted by James Payton. Sean Julius in row 6, the 993 Mustang, carboned out and suitably menacing for a car of that stature. Derek Hall in P12 in the number 14. Pedro Serrano in the 212, who's very loud purple BMW M4, joined by fellow BMW pilot Felix Wildner in the number 87. John O'Neill in the 333 Mustang with a very clean racing livery right there, alongside the Moët and Chandon number 6 of Robert Homer. Paul Hamby is going to be just behind him in the number 17 spot, the number 84 Lamborghini. That's back to his best, with Wayne Bowler alongside in the 123 Ferrari, and Foxall in P19 42 Lamborghini, closing out the top 20 with Linatus, number 12 Nismo. Last few places coming through. Here's Craig Niesbet. The 331 Nismo is going to be alongside John Gabbett in his number 21 BMW. Looking very clean while he does it. Ostrichaz in the number 74 BMW with a emblematic and patriotic half-and-half design. Peter Smith in the chrome and blue accents, his 113 McLaren. Simon Eads going to be pushing up in his number 25 Porsche with a lot of contrasting colour styles. And Alex North in the 207 Porsche alongside. Sean Murphin in the 180 McLaren, almost looking like a royal purple styled livery. And Rich Arscombe in his black and gold Aston Martin. Last few places here, it's Stuart Holmes, the number 2 BMW with his silver and yellow here. Along with Iro in his classic 992 Porsche. Peter Smith was up ahead, but David Smith is down with his inverted livery in the 199 31, with Rog Dismikes in the number 32 spot with his aptly themed 420 car. Ramon Lorenzo carboned out, although again, maybe our fault, apologies. And then Randy Zimmer in the 141 Ferrari, bright orange MP34, with Craig Holmes in the 109 Audi. The Thunderbird style livery. Gotta say, I'm liking that. That was an entry I did not expect to see tonight. Not the style I expected to see, but not a complaint as far as I'm concerned. Everyone now trying to get their cars all warmed up in that operating temp. It's a little bit cooler still than what we saw out in qualifying. It's down to 26 degrees surface temp and the wind has picked up. So we have got a bit more of a challenge for drivers to keep it in that optimal window. The lower ambient temps will help with keeping things cool, but for the tyres, that might be too much of a good thing. You can't keep the rubber in the right operating temperature. Will have some gripping consistency. You will struggle to keep those cars fully gripped up, although that being said, at least with the GT3s, they tend to be a bit more stable platforms than some of your other motorsport offerings, so maybe I'm over dramatizing somewhat. Not as much balancing on a knife edge as you may see in others. Everyone lining up here and say soon to be returning to their rightful places before now, as everyone quickly concatenates. It's a double file start, and looks like we're seeing a little bit of a leapfrogging going on as Wolfslenner was briefly going back and forth against Lindblom for position on the circuit. I think just having a little bit of fun between the two. Friendly, almost wheel-to-wheel handshake. A wheel-to-wheel handshake between drivers, and almost as if to say, let's have some fun out there. You are rivals at the end of the day, but you're racers first, and you're respectable sports people before that still. So, Season 12, Round 2. The protagonist of the championship still yet undecided, but the race is going to be a step in the right direction. And while the season is young, these racers certainly won't be coming here unprepared. Everyone climbs in double file. The track is hot. The race is about to begin. For the second time here in Season 12, we're here once again to go racing. Let's have some good times here, folks. The track is going to be electric. Here we go. We're about to get the call from race control. There we go. Green light. Track is hot. Away we go. And immediately it's going to be a push. You can see multiple cars going for an immediate dart around the field. You can see jump into the helicam. It is chaos. It is pandemonium. It's 2 wide, 3 wide, all going into turn 1. Everyone's going to have some major traffic jams. As you can see, we're trying to keep up. Cars at a complete standstill. There's spins. There's Lorenzo spinning off. We saw Serrano just off the side of the track as well. They've all lost the plot at the start of the race as well. You can see there is also going to be a Sean Julius completely marooned in the pits. Multiple cars trying to quickly recover from the anarchy that is turn 1. Meanwhile, a little bit further, there's still going to be fighting and squabbling. Even in the mid-pack, you can see going left, right and centre. Here is Felix Waldner trying to capitalise on that early lap chaos, get some early positions. Hamby doing much of the same. He's chasing down on Robert Homer heading into turn 11. There's no chance for rest or even a breath in my case. I'm still going, barely sneaking a breath in here and there. I can't even have a chance to slow down, and neither can these drivers. North under serious pressure. Bowler going to take a move out in through turn 11. Can he keep it into turn 12? Back up at the top meanwhile. We can see Lindblom already challenging for the lead. And that's just half a lap 1. I think that's the longest push I've ever had on my voice there in quite a while. But look at these drivers go. They've all really given it absolutely everything. You can see McNair under serious pressure. He's dropped a few positions. He's going to have a hard time getting those back. But, oh, what's happened here? There is Lang into the infield, completely cutting across the apex of turn 15 and losing positions big time. We'll have to, of course, take a bit of a review back as it looks like he made contact with Dave Marsh and ended up losing several positions as a result. So for those who predicted T1 shenanigans and lap 1 drama, I think you were perfectly on the money. Either you had the same experience if you were here on the Monday Night Championship, or some kind of clairvoyance, or maybe drivers are just predictable and opportunistic, who knows. Either way, you can see everyone trying to go defensive just up in the foreground. There is going to be Victor going for an attack on Marsh into turn 1. The drivers were sweeping to the left before darting back to the racing line. A little bit aggressive. He's hurt his exit speed, but looking at the front as well. Here's Lindblom, who's managed to execute that to perfection and snuck that under the nose out of everyone. Question is, can he get the peel away that he was so desperately looking for? You're not going to see it unchallenged either. Grosges and Wolfslen are both trying to keep good pace, keep good time, but without the dirty air to slow that NSX down, they could be in trouble. Slipstream isn't really going to keep them alive in the same way. Everyone darting on the brakes, a little bit wider there line for Lindblom, but you can see he's trying to get a bit more of a stretch and really sort of open up the taps on that NSX as there's double file, a little bit of a skate in the rear for Dave Marsh, but Lang and Bourne, McNair and Peyton, Wildner and Hall, Noah would be proud with these formations, 2x2, all in a perfect line and heading into turn 12. We're increasingly seeing, say, a lot of representation of wider teams here throughout this season, and if you are part of any of those teams or you're just generally cheering a driver on, make it known in that live chat, of course. If you're supporting anyone in particular here today, or you're really hoping to someone to pull a cat out the bag or a rabbit out of the hat, I don't know the phrase, then let us know, of course. Hamby had a little bit of a rough opener and has dropped positions similar to Smith right here, as he's going to be overtaken not only by Arscombe on the infield, but Eade is going to be keeping some pressure on him as they go turn 16 through 18. Tough field to contend against, and nobody is going to be giving an inch, but that's racing. That's racing for you, folks. All about being willing to get your elbows out, but not to the detriment or where anyone is in any major trouble. Fortunately, we did not see Sean Julius return to the race course, so he is going to be our first, well, effectively our main DNF of the start of the race. Really, it would be a DNS, but because he was technically in the lobby at the time of race start, it will be counted as a DNF as far as the official statistics go. You can see that a lot of drivers have started to peel out some time, particularly towards the front end of the field, where we're seeing no less than half a second per driver, all the way down to 15 with Hamby. Although there has been some chaos, there is drama going through, trying to catch up. There is Foxall, as he's got a yellow flag. He's going to be re-emerging onto the track, quickly whipping his Lamborghini round, but we could be in trouble there. Let's quickly wind back the clocks. So you can see here, this is going to be him coming through and out of, say, turns 3 and 4. Trying to keep that car nice and planted, but just a little bit too much oversteer. Tries to catch it, slides across the field, and luckily nobody was caught in the crossfire. But that could have been mighty dangerous. Meanwhile, jumping aboard with the helicopter, we can see that Smith is going to be attacking on Eade, but goes way too deep into turn 12, and that is going to be his ultimate undoing, losing not only to his initial attack, but getting overtaken by O'Neill and Nisbet Sane. So, coming out of those chaotic initial laps and completing the third lap here for those racers, Lindblom has come out on top. He's managed to get an early breakaway, and I think that is ultimately going to be what sets him up for success on this race unless challenged by the opponents of Grosges and Wolfslenner in second and third. Going off by classes as well, we can see that Peyton has done a mighty fine job here of establishing himself a bit of breathing room. He has got one of the larger gaps as far as the races are concerned, with Derek Hall over 2 seconds away. We're starting to see a tale of two grids here, folks, as the field is starting to split off in different ways. Peyton Hall, Wildner going to be top 3 for silver, and then bronze. Bowler has managed to hold his own well and keep the likes of Alex North at bay, but we know that North can really put some pressure down in race trim. See if he can really pull things back here. Gabbett a bit further away. Now we could potentially see a couple of moves heading into turn 12, but a lot of drivers try and tee things up either into heavy braking zones or even just trying to squeeze for space in some of the twistier parts. It's sometimes seen to have drivers go side by side through, for example, say turn 3 through to turn 5, at which point the move is decided. It's risky, but it's certainly a strategy. McNair is hot on the heels of Bourne, so whatever move he's planning, he's going to have to do it fast. Wildner being overtaken by Homer, but a lot of trading back and forth. Linnatus getting involved in the fight all the same. The two of them go side by side, briefly heading out into turn 13, 14 here. And now 15. See, Hamby is hot on the trail too. A first 10 minutes down, and pretty eventful start here from the field, but they've managed to reach a bit of an equilibrium. They've not had too many major incidents and keeping themselves mostly out of trouble now that those initial, shall we say, initial mishaps are under their belts and got it out their systems. So of course, we had one major incident at the start. We had, say, some contact, which we did want to review. In fact, let's wind those clocks back a little bit here, because this is going to be Dave Marsh, and that was against the 776 car, I believe. That was going to be against Matthias Lang. So Marsh pushing, Lang on the other side, and oh, yep, that is all she wrote. And it's a significant contact, eventually spinning both of them out, and even what looks like a relatively small bump can have disastrous knock-on effects. I wonder how some of the lower positions are doing, and why some of the silver cars are marooned further away. Of course, we did have that early incident, which might explain the likes of Serrano, but Ostrachaz, not sure how involved he was in that initial chaos. I think he was blocked at the start. You can see he's still pushing hard despite those factors, even if his attacks aren't quite landing just yet. Holmes is in his sights, but he needs to gain 3 positions just to be able to overtake Sean O'Neill and have a chance to improve his point. There's not really much they can do just yet. He's just going to have to bide his time. Yeah, he's going to be chasing Bourne here. The field is really starting to find its footing and start to pace itself. This is what you always get. You get that banzai phase at the beginning, everyone trying to just chase for positions, go all in while everyone's close, and then once people start to spread out, that's where you see people start to really mellow and start putting in their best laps. D. Lang with a controlled, not too aggressive, but well-executed move against Marsh for P6. That is quality right there through turn 1. We can even see that Marsh is not going to let it go perfectly easy. He is going to keep that pressure alive. Pushing hard on the back of that Nismo. Taking alternate lines, avoiding the dirty air where he can. Trying to compromise a little bit of slipstream and a little bit of cornering grip, but trying to reel him back in when he gets down to turn 12. Bourne is going to be on his heels though, so I would not rest on any laurels. Tensions are high. So Holmes is off the course and waiting for an opening. Looking for clearance. Rejoin the circuit. Hopefully he doesn't come into any other traffic. Nope, looks like he's okay. Holmes is just behind him. We had Zimmer and Dismukes with early pit stops, curiously. So those two obviously getting affected by the initial chaos of the first lap. That was too much to be able to continue with. Down to 34 cars. Racers. Try and settle. 2:04.8 best lap of the session, and that is going to be from current race leader David. This is scary. This is what Lindblom does. Sometimes he will get a clean break of anywhere about a second. He will just keep chipping away. He has a way of extracting pace from that car that very few are able to match. Right now he stands 3.5 seconds clear of Grosges, who himself has got Wolfslander on his tail. For better or worse, you might get a bit of an aero wash effect if these two are even too close. You want to see Ramon Lorenzo chasing on the back of Sean Murphin. While this may be a smaller battle in the bronze classes, it's still going to be the drivers giving their all. Check back with them in due course. Just seen Bowler and Hamby go for a bit of a trade. Is Bowler going to have a counter? Now the thing is, Bowler doesn't need to fight here. He doesn't have to fight. He's got the lead of bronze. That's what he needs. His priority is staying away from North, not conceding his P2 in his own class. Hamby will help with that by putting a fast car between himself and his rival. But it's not essential. It's too high a risk. Don't try it. Just keep your line, hold your pace. The rest will follow. A good result here could slingshot him into P2. Maybe not P1, maybe not the points difference that he needs out of tonight. But certainly P2, with Arscombe being much further down. And only a point difference from the first round. Hamby is figuratively and what almost from this camera angle looks like literally knocking on the door of Linata's position and goes for the undercut, goes for the inside. A very smooth line here, smooth run coming out from Hamby, but can he hold himself here? Can he hold himself strong? Can we have a chase cam of the leader for a lap? Tell you what, why not? Let's do it next lap. We'll jump on with Lindblom and we'll get a bit of a gauge on what a good line looks like through Kota. Curiously, Linatus has made the decision to head into the pits. Not one that I can necessarily understand, but I'm sure that time will speak for itself. I would say if anyone's looking for any immediate driving advice, of course, consult drivers with more seat time than me, because as much as I have come to learn a lot about ACC and a lot about other sims, you cannot compare to drivers who have the raw seat time. So always take them over someone like me. I'm very good at looking at them and saying, hey, they're doing the thing from an outsider's perspective, but that's never going to perfectly translate how the car's going to feel, how the car's going to behave underneath you. All I'm saying is that if I have any commentary on these fast laps and on these lines, take it with a pinch of salt. I'm not in those seats nearly as much as these racers are. the Marsh, Air, Peyton, all in a close trio. Maybe even a quartet if they can get Bourne involved. See in due time how these drivers are faring, but let's switch gears for a little bit. We're going to jump on board, and specifically in chase cam. Not something we do here usually at SimSeniors, but seeing as one asked so graciously and nicely, I think we'll do it. So we're on board with Liam Blom right now. You can see as they jump in on the brakes just before those markers. And careful of those curbs on the inside. If you think you're going to take turn 1, turn 11, turn 12 aggressively, it's better to be a little bit safer here, but this is where you can start to push those boundaries. You take in about half the car. They're going over the curbs with 2 of your wheels, but you're almost sort of straddling the line. You are straddling those curbs, taking a better line, but not being subject to the uneven grip surface that is the curbing. Finding that perfect middle ground. And you can see even here, really pushing to the edge of the track with this one. Holding firm and getting on the power as soon as possible. They're not afraid to, even on the straighter sections, push things out wide. Just maximize your arc, maximize your distance, and keep things as smooth as possible in terms of input. We've almost got to think of it like rolling a boulder, and while that seems abstract and completely counterintuitive to a GT3 car, it's all about the sense of momentum. If you can keep the momentum of these cars, if you can keep your input smooth and gradual and rotate the car while preserving momentum, you'll have a lot better of a time. You can see right there, you have those almost diamond curbs, those sausage curbs that will kick your car up if you get overzealous with the apexes. So while you can maximize your line, use a little bit of the curb unless you know where your car's going to land and you have a predictable platform, like the Ferraris, for example, do not respond well to getting kicked upwards. That's where you go. And that was a 2:06, so not the perfect lap, but certainly a very respectable one nonetheless. And that was from race leader David Lehman. Hey, my name's Ben Sapsford. If anyone's wondering who I am, I see a question in the chat asking who the commentator is. Been here at SimSeniors for multiple seasons. Also, they do multiple broadcasts and run things through our agency, Driveline Media, specialising in F1, LMU, and ACC. Might even be branching out into iRacing soon. Who knows? Time will tell. But you might see our crest and our brand around a few places. Just know I sent you. And across the line as we get through the 20-minute mark, and Simon Eade hot on heels of Vito Vasuri. The 2 silver drivers, they've got a little bit of beef between them. They have had a few back and forth in races past, but Eado, crucially, is much higher in the standings. It's 19 points, or if I'm reading that right, I've completely misread the statistic there. It was 29 points for Eado and 0 points for Simon Eade. I was looking at completely the wrong table. My apologies. So Eade has a chance to really snap away points and some of the gap from some of the leaders. Now, the key thing to remember is with this season, and a new development for this season, is the license point system. Drivers, as well as looking at points penalties, will be subject to a license point system. You get enough of your license points deducted down to 0, and you will be facing a race ban. So, as well as the immediate punishment, you'll be getting points on your license. You have 25 points to start with. Infractions will burn those points until eventually you have 0. And you're sitting one on the bench, folks. You're not going to be joining on the race. Not even going to a quali ban. It is a full race ban if you lose all 25 license points. So, behave yourself. Keep it clean. No one likes a dirty driver. That's how mistakes happen, and that's how tiers start falling. Gardner getting overtaken by Hamby there. It's a crucial points between the two drivers. But now we get into that halfway point of the race. We're going to start seeing drivers who are choosing to pit in. This is where you have to play your cards right. Too early of a pit will leave you wheezing by the end of the race, either on fuel or your tyres starting to give out. Too late, and you don't really get to leverage the advantage that you otherwise pose to your fellow drivers on the course. You're going to have to see your car almost push on its prime too little. So this is why drivers tend to optimize slap bang in the center. While we've previously in seasons gone seen a lot of variation in strategy, we've seen drivers go as far as the final 10 minutes before pitting in. This season, at least so far, and to an extent last season, it was mostly homogenized around the 35 to 25 minute mark. Most drivers kept within the same envelope, with only a couple of exceptions and outliers. Like we see, say Roger Dismukes, he's notorious for carrying very long stints in his races. And although I would usually say the same here, today he's already taken a pit stop because of the early lap 1 incident. So he's not going to have that same strategic, at least initially, strategic advantage that he's usually able to press. And that has been in part why he's able to bag in previous times. He's been able to bag points. In part due to his strategy being so unorthodox and almost securing positions early and then fighting from the other side rather than having to push upwards. Also noticing track temps are dropping, winds are rising. Anyone who's got particularly aggressive aero might have to watch out. If you've got any wind or pitch sensitivity in your aero setup, be wary. You might experience some unexpected kicks of the car, or suspension might play up from differing aero loads. Play it safe. Find that with dirty air, you've got yourself a bit of a rowdy platform if you haven't set your car up right. Some of these rotation points, like here, turn 1, you've got that high crest hairpin before pushing down through the hill. Use the camber to full advantage. Keep that speed up, and then you see Hamby using third gear, so effectively rolling the car through, just modulating the throttle to keep the grip balanced. Derek Hall heads into the pits. Victor is going to be through the pit lane as he's cleared a drive-through penalty. He's down into P16, but he's not technically taken his stop. That drive-through penalty's cost him about 40 seconds. Massive losses. Any kind of pit lane punishment is just that, extremely punishing any driver. Saying that, there's a Peter Smith, that is going to be him completely round. Not looking like a happy bunny there. Let's in fact wind back the clocks a bit, as this one is going to be looking on board's perspective. So here's Peter Smith. For this one here, you say Victor Verfa, and there you go. There is contact from the Aston, and that is going to leave the McLaren spun. And now in P19, as things have de-escalated. Now, race leader Liam Blom is in the pit lane, which means he's going to be coming out in about a minute or so time. In the interim, though, that has left Grosges and Wolfsteiner with a crucial choice to make. How long do they want to stay out with their rival having headed into the pits? He's going to be coming out in just a moment here. He's predicted that he's going to be coming out around P10 or just below P10. See how much he's able to extract out of this pit window. Going to be soon making his way out of the lane. You can see moving down now. Like he's going to be a little bit further than he desired, as he's down in P16 and counting. Finally out the pit lane. P19. So could even be under threat from David Smith. So slightly early from some of the leaders here. A lot of the drivers at the front taking a bit of an earlier stop. As you could see on the timing boards, they are Wiggle, Lang, Lorenzo, Foxall, Serrano, all heading in. So aggressive pit stop strategy coming out of Kota for some of the leaders. Will there be a mirror? Rosquez and Wolfslener as quite other rivals on this racetrack for the lead. With Grosguez currently holding it on paper. Is this undercut stroke of genius or a bit of a premature fire? Let's see some drivers immediately capitalise on the podium shake-up and on the field. Getting a little bit more rowdy as he's going to almost consider an attack, but actually tucks in behind Hero. Curiously, not quite the attack that I was expecting, because I thought he would have seized the opportunity there. I thought they could have gone for a little bit of a bite of that cherry. Barely though. Liam Blom now on potentially fresh tyres and set to take on the field. Going to be a force to be reckoned with. Now he's in prime trim and he's done his pit stop for the race as mandated. Hamby, McNair, Verfa all heading into the pits now, along with Sean O'Neill. And that is going to be Arscombe just up ahead as well. But like we said, we see drivers try and optimise around the 30-minute mark, and I would not be surprised if that's what the Wolfpack pilots do. Rodriguez and Wolfson have a good chance of going in this lap, and that could perfectly optimise their stints. But will they come out ahead of Liam Blom? That's the thing that they're trying to predict most right now. Will not be the opportunity for error. Pit stop timing has to be nigh perfect if they want to succeed on this round. Where will this session take them? Aggressive runnings here. Homer, Bowler, close contention in P7 and P6. Isuri is going to be chasing Eid after an overtake going ahead in Sector 1. Isuri is now on the counter-attack, chasing down the four drivers who went into the pit lane. Verfar is now out, second pit stop under his belt and down in P25. Sean O'Neill is going to be just behind him. Randy Zimmer comes out in P28 and actually going to overtake the other drivers on this field. As you can see, O'Neill tuck in behind Randy in his Ferrari. Curiously, Grosguez and Wolfsteiner go for another lap. Look what the game plan is here, when they're planning to take their stop. Maybe there's a bit of coordination between the two. Maybe they're trying to observe where this is going to leave the likes of Liam Blom. Currently P13 and making some scary time. Remember, Liam Blom currently holds the lap fastest lap. There you go. I can word good. Order correct, yes? 204.877 coming out from that NSX. Question is now, with a fresh kit underneath him, is he going to be breaking that record? Peter Smith heads into the pits just ahead. He comes up to the line. It's going to be a 205.7. And I say, still holding that fastest lap, but he's going to overtake Peyton, Wildner, Bowler, and Smith, all heading into the pits, along with the other Smith, I say Peter and David together, and Ostrachaz too. So this has pushed Liam Blom back into the top 10 as the field has started to equalise. Rosguez making his way through turn 13, 14. Will be under some pressure to perform here. Section of the course being notoriously difficult to get your lines right. That and the first sector can be punishing as an understatement. Weeping his way through turn 18 to 20. At fully committed up until the pit line as he's sneaking in the last possible legal moment along with Wolfslander, the two both heading into the pits, and this has set the clock ticking. Lindblom now has a chance to really measure how much time he's gained. Beautiful stuff here from all of the racers. You can see the metagame, the strategy, all at play. This is where the monkey's paw curls. Lindblom pushing his way through turns 16 to 18. He's going all bore, full pistons firing, absolutely hammering, firing on all cylinders. Will Wolfslander and Grosges be able to get out ahead of time? You can see they have left the pit lane. Will there be a quick set-off for the likes of Wolfslander 2? A little bit behind. There is going to be the question for Grosges. Is it going to be coming up? Is Lindblom going to be able to take it? He's going to be pushing hard, and Lindblom is going to beat them out of the pit lane. Grosges, despite best push, and Wolfslander still remains behind and does so by a few crucial seconds too. It's 6 now. 7.4 seconds behind. So a valiant effort from the two Wolfpack drivers, but the strategy has prevailed in Lindblom's favour. He's got those crucial seconds out. He's managed to extract a great amount of time here, as most, if not all, of the entire field have now headed into the pits. Aid Versuri, Northammer and Gabbert having done so, and last on the field yet to go into the pit lane, it's Craig Niesbet, currently residing in P4, but likely to turn to approximately P18 by the end of all of this. Will be a lot of pressure now as the field has all taken their pit stops. The things have started to equalise, and a couple of drivers now emerging from the pits. I know, get used to the feel of their car again. Merging opportunity for the drivers who have just come out of the pit lane. Session is well over the halfway point, but Grosges with an overshot in turn 12 has opened up the doors. Big chance here to really get things going. Grosges is actually going to yield his position to Wolfslander B2. Army does wonder if there would be a fight at the top if we did see Guillaume Morris. Remember, a great result out of the first round in his Lexus, and curiously, we are seeing pretty much all of the Lexus runners completely absent. Not seeing Holmberg, Larson, Björklund, or Guillaume. I wonder what's going on there. Wonder what the game plan is. Why are we not seeing specifically all of the Lexus drivers make an appearance here at COTA? A little bit odd. All I'm gonna say on that. So, field has really condensed as a result of these challenges and a result of these pit lane switch-ups. Arscombe on the back of Peter Smith, McNair on the back of Bourne, all looking at a chance to sneak some positions now that the field has had a free shake-up. As it sweeping through some of the tighter sections of this racecourse, and the most important thing right now for these drivers is making it home. There is no value in overdriving the car. You are over the halfway mark. Just bring things home here. Good chances here for the field. Show us some fireworks. Show us ice and fire. Niesbet and Smith heading into the pits. Now, what is going on for Verfa as he has got what looks like, at least by my count, another drive-through administered. I can only imagine it's track limits because he's got now 3 pit stops under his belt and he is fully marooned in P25. He is fully isolated from the rest of his gold class compatriots. And yes, no, that is true, Larson. I am aware of your computer not behaving, shall we say, to put it diplomatically. No, so fully wish that everything gets better for you too, sweet mate. And that PC is right as rain in no time. Big chance here for Grosges. As it could be pushing on, say, Wolfslander. Trying to sneak in on the attack, on the offensive. Now, this is where things could be a bit of a toss-up between personal gain versus the wider team. Wolfslander is technically on the same team, but these two are individual drivers. The field is quite competitive, so what's not to say that Grosges goes for a little bit of a bite of personal glory. He is P2 in the championship after all. He does need those points a bit more than Wolfslander, who stands in P7. Almost like that garlic undertone. Understated, but it's there. That little bite. Verfart, meanwhile, despite multiple setbacks, is going to be running aggressively to try and gain up for lost time. P23. And hopefully pushing to get more of a chance here as time goes on. I do think Verfart has some serious pace in him. He has been lapping relatively well. He's got roughly in the 207s to 206s, so while not the highest pace, he's certainly got a good amount of drive in him. The only problem is that those track limits are his Achilles heel, and he needs to be able to rein it in. While Bourne and McNair going side by side, really challenging each other for their positions now, as the two of them go all the way out of turn 12 and engaging in full locked horns, engaging in battle. There is a chance here for McNair to really do something spicy. Although what's happening with Wolfslander as he is going into the pits, the 196 car. We did say a drive-through penalty for other racers, but that was only for the 199 of David Smith. So what's the story here for Wolfslander? What's going on? Looks like he's actually going to be taking a proper pit stop. So it's not like he's just getting a drive-through cleared. It's his game. Grosges has re-inherited P2, but I'm sure this isn't the way at all. McNair, big slide out of turn 1, and Bourne is barely able to avoid it. It's a tiny slide of his own, but fully in evasive action. Scary stuff there for the two of them. That could have been majorly catastrophic. Holmes, meanwhile, also heading into the pits, and Craig Niesbet is in the pits for 5+ minutes, so it's safe to assume that he will be either out of the race or certainly finishing in last. Oh, going way too wide. Too much garlic on that one. Okay, could that be a stop and go? That is a very valid point. And in fact, I'm going to check in here and see what the pit timings are for him. Okay, Wolfslander here, 30.1 seconds. So I do believe that is an SG30. I believe that was an SG30 for Wolfslander. So the 196 car has been relegated down to 15. And much like some of the others, has been marooned out from the rest of the field and stands 8th position. Pass. Unfortunate turn of events. I guess we'll only have to ask him after the race has concluded. That's sure that will come up in the Discord for sure. Also, they could be on the hunt here for a chance. And it is going to, despite his SG30, still have plenty of fight in him when it comes to this race. Homer is on the defensive, holding as best as he can, but that Ferrari is hungry, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's just mad. He's genuinely mad. I certainly would be if I was in his position. Looks like Homer's actually going to spare himself the trouble and is going to allow Wolfsletter through. I think his survival tactics have come into play there. At risk of repeating overly used metaphors and turns of phrase, say to finish first you have to finish, and sometimes a choice of survival is better than that of pure aggressive driving. Defensive driving versus survival, I think I know which one I would pick. Back up to the front, and in a fight for the top 5, McNair is on the defense from Chris Bourne as they head out of turn 11. Already, you can see the defensive strategy coming out from the Nismo. Goes right to the inside of the track. He's even going to pick up a little bit of marbles as he's going very far from the intended racing line. And big sweep back to the intended line for the corner, or going hot through the apex. Now, that Nismo we've seen in times past has had a bit of a skittish rear axle, and that has caught not only McNair but Bourne off guard as well multiple times, even with a bit of a slide coming out through this next one here. Nice and punchy, but don't be too overzealous with the throttle. It's not going to be ending well for you if you beans. There could be questions of large track cuts warranting an SG30. They're trying to sort of look into the reason why that might be the case, but on the face of it, looks like there's either significant track cuts or pit lane speeding. Those are usually the two instances where 30 being administered. Two of these drivers are fighting tooth and nail, but a little bit further down, sweeping around the edge, that is going to be an attack from Wildner. Lenatus holding the inside line, keeping things very much aggressive. Say the Pixel Pilots BMW could go for a little bit of a switchback here through the first corner, but say bump over the apex for the Nismo. That can place him right in a difficult spot. A bit more rotation there coming out of the Nissan. Waldner is going to be on the challenge. Wolfsletter is going to quickly go on the offensive though, and practically jet his way through turn 7 to steal that position nice and swift. Lenatus is just as quickly under threat, and it looks like he's going to be feeling that pressure. Very nice turn 11, but that Ferrari is not going to be yielding an inch. Final 15 minutes for the field here, and there is no signs of slowing down from anyone on this race course. It's going to be a last-minute flurry to the finish. But curiously, at the top, and somewhat counterintuitively, I've seen the biggest gaps, as the top 5 are all separated by no less than 4 seconds per car. On average, it's actually about 10. With 9.1 seconds to Grosges to Lindblom, 12 from O'Wiggle to Grosges, and then 14 seconds between McNair and Lang. So, right there is a Lenatus going a little bit deep, coming through turn 15. And Wolfsletter is going to take another 2 spots on that timing board, eke himself closer to the top 10. I think he's trying to reunite himself with his rivals further away, but he's going to have to make up over 20 seconds to do it. I would not hold out any particular bets, at least for the time being. We are down to 33 drivers. We have seen a bit of a shake-up. We can see Stuart Holmes coming into the chat, so, I mean, good to have you, even if it's not under the circumstances we were expecting. Nice to have you nonetheless. How the rest of the field, now that there are only 33 drivers left, respond to the final push. Nartus on the back of Wildner, but Marsh going to be challenged by Peyton here. Goes through turn 11. Looks like he's actually got the overtake ahead of turn 11 and on the hunt for spots. At least to try and secure it into the third sector. Marsh could be in trouble here. He's otherwise enjoyed a pretty peaceful race. He hasn't really had much in the way of dramas. And a little bit too deep there in through turn 13 and 14. The lines are looking a little bit shaky here through this twistier section. He's not closing in the way he hoped. I understand trying to deviate to escape the dirty air, but sometimes there's just suboptimal. North getting overtaken by O'Neill in the back line, coming out of turn 12. Very aggressive attack on the inside. 12 minutes on the clock, which is equating to about 6 more laps. An average of a 2:07. Field's going to enjoy a bit more spectacle yet. Homer, Bowler, Linatus all engaging in a trio. Fully immersed in combat. Bowler is going to bow out at turn 19 and yield the position over to Homer as Linatus tries to get away, break that second gap. Big opportunity coming in for the Nismo driver, but can he leverage it? He's 2.2 seconds away from Wildner. He's thoroughly lost that fight by this point, but he's not going to be deterred by this setback. All about this stage just clearing time away from the likes of Homer as his main championship class rival. At least on the track right now as far as things are concerned. He is well born, is going to be challenged as Homer and Linatus, and oh, contact by the looks of things. We just saw a bump there. Back to the helicam. We've got to capture this from full bird's eye view. Wobble from the rear. Linatus pushing hard. No rest for the best, they say, and getting very close to contact here. Going to be a close shave before long. Not careful, we will see chaos. Really getting stressed out by these two cars behind him, and it might even become a quartet, as there is Sean O'Neill sniffing at a chance potentially to get involved. Even further up we could see Bourne and McNair keep their fight ignited, but it's not immediately present right now. So we just stick on board with this helicopter. It's getting mighty close. It's almost closing the door there. Linatus is not afraid to drive hard and drive defensively. He's serving up, and oh no, there's a spin in the background. That is a hard slam into the wall. Bowler and Sean O'Neill have come together in a sea of fire, and immediately questions being asked. So let's replay that one more time. The triple apex right-hander. There is going to be Sean O'Neill behind Bowler, just in the 4, and you can see there is actually, say, contact briefly, but it's really the contact shared between himself and O'Neill that is his undoing, as I think he pushed a bit too hard, maybe tapped the diffuser of Homer. The rest is history. That is that. Chaotic is an understatement here. those last moments. Unlucky position to be in, but it looks like Bowler is going to be returning to the pits. He's going to be calling this one time. Despite 8.5 minutes left and a chance to finish on points. Just not to be. Considering the over 10 minutes that Niesbet has been in the pits as well, we're effectively down to 31 cars remaining in. Bowler probably going to be a retirement at this stage, unless he's extremely committed to getting this one done. But looking a little bit further ahead, we do see that things are heating up. If your name Chris Bourne, or if your name is McNair, things getting mighty stressful. He's going to be having it rough as McNair is closing in. Heavy stress. Heavy stress coming in. As the field is going to be really pushing his buttons. I'm a little bit concerned that this race car right here is going to be under attack soon. As McNair is... He's sniffing at the opportunity. You can see him. He's going left. He's going right. He's trying his best to keep things under control, but ultimately he wants the attack. He wants to get the position. Bourne and McNair going very close to say McNair goes all the way to the inside, darts back out in a tale as old as time as far as his strategy is concerned with handling that straight. It's a close call for sure, but a well-executed one. 6 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock remain. Now he's got his P5 back. On the back foot. 118 Ferrari. Going to be chomping at the bit for a last-ditch effort at position. Same goes with Sean O'Neill, hot to the heels of Robert Homer right now. Of course, we have seen Wayne Bowler bow out of this fight, but not particularly his own choice. We'll see O'Neill go to the inside. Is he going to tee up for the same kind of move? He goes together, literally, with Robert Homer going into turn 12. Does yield off a little bit. Looks like he's going to be conceding the position. So not long before he is challenged him once again. Despite that slap to the left side, is going to be still defending firmly and not taking anything for an answer. McNair and Bourne still continue to scuffle briefly through turn 1, but are mostly keeping their eyes on each other as the final 5 minutes rolls around. Sessions are long, 60 minutes. One mandatory pit stop. They can be a little bit taxing. Well, that's nothing to compare to what some of these racers may have experienced. We have seen all sorts of endurance racing pop up in the sim racing calendar, either to mirror or to inspire motorsport. It's worth saying at this point in time, folks, as well, that all race results are provisional prior to Stewart's review. So, as we saw from round 1, do not be surprised if what you see on the track is not what is true of the final results. Case in point, Liam Blom, 10 points penalty, has put himself down in P4 despite his second finish. I might say 39 points initially, those 10 points knocked off him are going to be quite something to deal with. Renzo trying to chase down Peter Smith as well, likewise. And not having the best time of it, losing the car, but no major dramas as he's quickly able to recollect himself before finishing out the sector. Wait, McNair's heading into the pits? Oh no! Something's gone wrong big time here. Good sign at all from the driver. Is this a stop and go, or is this drive-through? What's the situation here, Colin? You had such a good fight. You had such a beautiful display for us on this racetrack, and now that feels like it's gone for naught. We did have a prior drive-through for the number 42 car. That is going to be none other than Mike Foxall, so a shame to see him so low down. But he is ultimately going to be at the bottom of the order, and you can see sort of kicking his car over the sausage curb. A drive-through was administered to Colin, and that has now been cleared, so he's going to be down in P11. Not looking good whatsoever. Homer is going to be under attack as O'Neill has got him out of the first corner. P15 for the McLaren as the Mustangs got one up on him in the last moments, but can he hold it? There is going to be Linatus there, very close to being overtaken as well, but is not going to be going so gently into that good night. Effectively, we are on the penultimate lap. Leader will join the final lap of the race right as the timer ticks to its last 10-ish seconds. See Rob Homan going a little bit hotter into that apex, but getting on the throttle earlier, this could be a good sign for the McLaren. Could be a very good sign, but it can't quite keep the proximity. The acceleration of that Mustang is just something else. Even that little bit of slipstream to try and help him along is not enough. Hold his own as he might. Gonna have to rely on the twisties here. O'Neill's relying on a bit more of that straight line speed to keep him going. Homer briefly losing the car, and O'Neill getting boxed in by Linatus. A careful execution of this final lap would be the difference between walking away with P13 or P15. These are all in the same class, so these are real fights. Drivers are going to be on their penultimate lap now, as the leaders will soon be starting the last. And with only 10 seconds to go, no less. So lap 29, or 29 laps completed. Be our threshold here, I think. Linatus with a very good turn one compared to Sean O'Neill, who's actually conceded this one from, say, for Robert Homer. Any minute now, you're going to hear the call from race control. Leader is on the final lap. The final push. You heard it here first, folks. And oh, that's not the kind of final push we meant, Sean. That is a heavy contact for the two. O'Neill and Homer both having a heavy collision. If I was Homer, I would be fuming right now. And you can see he's going to jump straight across the grass to rejoin in P16. He is having none of that. None of that whatsoever. Mr. O'Neill, you may get called into the steward's office. You may get quite a slap on that wrist. As, yeah, that was a heavy hit there. Bit of a dive. Bit optimistic. And if I was North, I'd honestly be a little bit nervous about going for a space against that Mustang after just witnessing that. I would think twice before going alongside that Mustang. Just out of, again, pure safety, precaution. But as time closes in rapidly, there are some last fights that drivers indulge in before the checkered flag falls. McNair might go for a last-ditch effort against Hamby. We might see Victor, Homer, Alex challenging for each other, but there is one driver who paradoxically has had the best and the most quiet race out of us all. Lindblom goes through this final sector, has effectively run this race to a T. He held the strategy, he held his own, and even when he lost a bit of time in this final stage of the race, he wasn't able to hold that perfect 10-second lead. He has still done an immaculate job, proving why he is one of the forces to be reckoned with here in Season 12. And one of the forces of previous season's champion, as he comes to the line, Lindblom, congratulations, the winner of the Texas round, or the USA round if you want to call it, because this is not only USA round on the calendar. But round 2 is yours, my friend. NSX, park it up, show it off, and indulge in another P1. Rozges to the line in second, and a beautiful showing it has indeed been with Loris O'Wiggle coming up to the line, and another excellent job here. So, looks like a bit of a press tour in order. One of the Wolfpack cars alongside 2 of the Pixel Pilots runners. That photo op is going to be juicy. Coming up to the line for Silver, and with a very impressive run here in that McLaren, it's Peyton. Snuck under the radar a little bit tonight in this race, but that by no means is an indication that he hasn't had an exciting race of his own. It's a beautiful result, and he's certainly going to be happy with that one. That's going to be what puts him on the map in terms of points. He was on 26, redacted after penalties to 14, but now he's got a chance to snap back up the order. But again, there's going to also be Derek Hall coming up to the line in second place, and quickly jumping back into the pits, and glad to have caught him before he inevitably disconnects. And then Hamby goes through into P3, and driver currently on the top of the timing, or on the top of the championship board. Healthy dose of points in third, but Hall in second. That's going to close the gap between the 2 rivals. Going over to bronze finally, and North just crossing the line here with a beautiful display. Close out his class and hold on tight to his reigning lead here in the season thus far. He's got 2 wins on the trot, and he's showing no signs of slowing down. Gabbett is going to be in P2 in his BMW, and will be a driver to watch as well. As 23 point total, redacted to 18 after penalties. Going to get a healthy boost, potentially put him in the top 5. And third place is going to go to Randy Zimmer, and that, my friends, is where we... So, of course, that was just round 2 of the 10-round season we have got between now and the end of March. You want to keep here at SimSeniors. If you enjoyed what we had shown you tonight, be sure to like the stream if you enjoyed it. It puts this in front of more people, and say thank you to everyone who's tuned in this evening. Next week is going to be heading over to Imola, and the beautiful track that is. So definitely do not go too far. If you want to get involved, you've got the Facebook group, you've got the Discord, and we could even potentially see you on track in due time. But as far as things stand for now, my name's been Ben Sapsford. See you next Tuesday, and have a beautiful night, everyone. Take care, and goodbye.